So welcome all to Layer 5 website meeting. Today is 1st of May, a new month. And with that, we are good to start today's meeting. So we'll be following our weekly Layer 5 tradition to welcome newcomers. So if you are a newcomer, join this call for the first time, feel free to unmute yourself. I see a new name in participants list, Dham Kriti. So hi Dham Kriti, would like to introduce?
Yes, myself Madhurjya Kalita, and I am a great learner, and I'm into the front end and back end. So I can say I am a full stack engineer.
Yeah, that's great. So are you currently working or are you in college?
I'm in college. I'm not working as in.
Okay, cool. So welcome to the call, Dhamkriti.
Thank
So
you.
I don't see any more newcomer in today's list. So with that, let's move ahead with today's first item. That's by Saksham. So Saksham would like to share your screen.
So there's this issue which was opened up. I'll just share my screen in a second.
If it will take time, let's move to next item. Saksham.
No, I'm just sharing.
Okay.
Oh, it's so painful, Saksham. What are you going to talk about? Can you introduce it as you bring it up? Can you share and talk at the same time?
Yeah, so this issue was like a design issue, and Ayush assigned it to me, and then I gave some changes. So like, is it fine? The new design.
What changes you made, if you could describe a brief from the current and from the enhanced version that you are sharing?
So Gaurav, basically the issue was something like the padding and margin were not up to the mark as per the issue description, and I just did some changes in the padding and margin only.
I see the color also being changed.
No, I didn't do anything with the color.
Okay. You happen to have a Figma link of this design that you're sharing?
Not right now.
Okay.
If required, I'll create one.
No, since you're saying the issue is just about with padding and margin, so it's not required. You can directly raise a PR for this if you haven't raised till now.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to, but like, I just wanted to confirm it looks fine. Then only I'll raise a PR. That's why I commented this to Ayush.
Okay. Any feedback for Saksham?
Cool. So everybody's got feedback. Everybody's got feedback on something like this. Who thinks that Saksham, you got to introduce the topic. So bring up your issue. Say, hey, here's what the issue is. Here's how I'm proposing to fix it. I think this is the issue, right? Since you haven't opened a PR, can you go to the top of the issue and let's understand what the problem is? So there's a screenshot right there. Great. And so Ayush is calling out, is saying that this doesn't look very good and might need some changes. All right. And yep, and he's right. Like the use of space here isn't quite optimized. It's the free tool descriptor is a little bit And there's a few things that are kind of odd. More than that, or I'm sorry, in addition to that, the dark mode screenshot. So the screenshot is taken in dark mode of the site, and the coloring of this call to action, this advert, is perhaps not the best. Can you visit that page real fast and show what it looks like in light mode? So that everyone has an understanding of sort of what it looks like as it was originally designed. Because it was probably originally designed for light mode. So the gradient on the left-hand side is more like a fade to white, and technically it's off-white. And I don't know that, this was taken into account as dark mode came about. Dark mode came out after this was created. And so there were, some things like this graphic that probably weren't accounted for. And so Saksham, your proposed changes are?
I'll just switch to that. This one, the callout card looks like this one right
Okay.
now.
Yeah. No. What's different?
Like,
No. It doesn't look any better. No one's providing feedback, but everybody should. No. It's terrible. It's horrific. You didn't fix anything. I'm sorry. I'm just going to give it to you right. So what are you going to do to change to improve it?
I've currently just changed the margin padding.
Horrible. You made it even worse. I'm sorry, man. I'm not pulling my punches this morning. It's my first, I just woke up. I clearly woke up on the wrong side of the bed. But so what's wrong with what you've done? Hurry. Saksham, you still there?
Yes.
Okay. What's good about what you've done?
Well, I thought that the margin and padding weren't up to the mark earlier. Like that's what the issue expected. So I did
So
what was
what is the mark in this case?
I don't remember the numbers.
Oh, they weren't. Yeah, no. Okay. Yeah, I think we're. Yeah. Does anybody else have feedback? Saksham, what I'm at. So Ritik, you don't have any feedback. You're without suggestions. Oh, good. Pretty does. Yeah, perfect. So dark mode is an issue. And so that's a great suggestion that like, hey, this needs to, as you go to refine it, that you would take light mode and dark mode into account. And so one technique there is to, and Damkriti might have some suggestions, but one technique is to not use a color on the left-hand side, but to just use a lighter opacity. That way, whether there's a light background or a dark background, you get sort of the same fading effect. That's one technique. The other things you've got going on here that are a little bit off, it's not necessarily you, but I will say that you made it worse by adding more margin. There's too much space. This thing is quite massive if you look at it on the page. It's not, it's an advertisement, so to speak. It's just an internal advertisement saying that, hey, there's a great project. You might want to check it out. It's right here on our other pages. So actually filling up more of the space with the content is probably ideal. Not adding more space. And I think that's probably what Ayush meant when he was saying padding and margin was like maybe too much of that. So if you enlarge in what's inside of the image, and by the way, do you have the ability to do that?
Yeah, I'll do the required changes and try to.
No, that's not what I'm asking you. You can't say it like that because I won't believe you. Do you have the ability to do this? Do you have the raw vector graphics or the original artwork to manipulate it in such a way that it doesn't get pixelated as you go to work with it?
No.
Okay. So I don't know that you're set up for success from the start. so Saksham, this might not be the best issue for you to take on, especially since I don't know that you're quite grasping the challenge of the issue itself. So do you see the first line, Docker extension is available for Meshery now? Does the available word on the second line, it doesn't necessarily feel symmetric to you? It doesn't feel like the best use of space. Should be one feeling. The second thing should be like the subtitle there, managing cloud native infrastructure has never been easier, is, well, it's a bit blah. It's quite small. It's probably the same size as the rest of the font on the rest of the page. And this is an advertisement. And it's okay for it to deviate in terms of font size. So that should probably be bigger. There doesn't need to be that much space between, well, you see how the space between what is said, Docker extension for Meshery, the amount of margin between that and the top of the graphic, it's non-symmetric to the amount of margin that's between the space that's between where it says free tool and the rest of the text. And so instead of enlarging that and adding more white space, rather reduce it and also just pull out free tool, because that's not like free tool is a great thing to be able to say on here, but take it and maybe add it as a label, like a ribbon across the, like diagonally across the graphic itself. So it's like, you know, it's like a label on the side of something. It's like, oh, new or 20% larger. In this case, it's like free tool. Anyway, some food for thought, although I guess that isn't necessarily for you if you don't have the ability to manipulate the artwork. For someone else that might jump on it, you should find that this artwork is available inside of the community Figma. Cool. Does anybody else have feedback? So some good feedback from Dom Creedy. And also specifically, so Dom Creedy was saying, you know, gradient, right. So yeah, so I guess depending upon how light mode and dark mode are dealt with, you can potentially just have one image. If all that you're using to affect the gradient is opacity, then you might be able to get away with a single version of the image that works in either dark or light mode. If you end up using color on both ends of the gradient, you might have to have two different copies of the same graphic, and that's okay. Or, you know, you could argue that maybe one is more performant than the next, so you only have to load one graphic, you know, but not that both graphics should be loaded anyway, because it should be the case that it's getting the right graphic from the start based on what mode it's in. But even at that, sometimes it doesn't really work out depending upon what your design is. You really do have to have two different graphics. Anyway, some great feedback from Tom Creedy.
Okay, then let's move to next topic. Thanks, Saksham. So next we have a call to action from Savio Diaz. So hi, Savio. Would like to make the call?
Yeah. So call to action, graphic design needed for Meshery Playground. So this was the example given. So I had just made 3 CTAs for Meshery Playground. You can check out this in this the link. Yes, PR number is 4129. So in this, yeah, I made 3 CTAs and asked for feedbacks. I guess this was, yeah. If anyone has feedbacks, they can give in the Figma or in the chat, and you can vote on which one you like. Yeah, that's it. And I guess there was one more issue regarding creating a flyer or that showcases Meshery stats. So I had came up with this idea of like making a Meshery logo center of the flyer, and then surrounding it all the logos or say the icons that represent the specific stat, for example the stars and all the stuff. For this, I guess there are feedbacks. I guess you said to do a complete redesign of this. I did not got the last part. Like, I guess you said to make it a little more older and yeah, your thoughts.
Yeah, hey, before I fill up the air again with my voice, does anybody else have feedback on the prior designs or this one? The prior designs, the intention for them being to be used within various pages on either the Layer 5 IO website or potentially on the 9 other websites that we run. These are meant to, highlight the fact that there is an actively running demo system that all of you on the call and anyone else is welcome to go use. It's called the Meshery Playground. So it's just an instance of Meshery that's running inside of the CNCF lab. And these are, again, sort of adverts, if you will, a call to action. And so my feedback here is the same as before, which is, drop the service mesh reference, replace it with.
I replace it with Cloud Native. I've done the changes in the Figma file. Yes, and relating, I guess I need some changes here.
Cool. So who, if you go back for a moment, who else has feedback on the?
We are missing the playground logo on this one. Or did we remove it intentionally?
Yeah.
We are missing the logo that we have on the current CTA.
I did not paste the Meshery Playground logo on this.
Yeah. So is there a reason?
No reason. I guess I have to check it out again. And I'll add it somewhere that looks perfect for this CTA.
Yep. The other thing looks good to me.
Anybody? I'm sorry. Anybody else? No, nobody else has got things to say. Does either of these two remind you of Star Wars for anyone? Is it just me? Does anybody like Star Wars? I'm curious. And if you say Star Trek, you're going to have to leave the call. Just kidding. So Ishan, are you Star Wars your thing? Oh, Marvel fan. All right, very good, my man. Just don't say the Flash, man. Just don't say the Flash.
Have we included the font that we use in the layer 5 brand kit or in the Meshery brand kit?
The Quellis, I guess. For this, the remaining text uses the Meshery's original text. But for this, I was facing some issue. So I'll contact with Ritik about how to, I was not getting how to add that specific font in my Figma. I'll just contact with him. Does this look bad? I guess
it looks great. No, it looks great as it is. But I just read a small thing about the font that we are using. I was not sure that this font will look great. Especially the first one, the year ticket to the Mesh Heaven, and this one. Yep.
Yeah, as just Ritik mentioned in chat, just use Canela Soft. That will work. And if you move to your next item, let's take feedback on this one. So anyone has feedback on this?
One second.
All right. So yeah, it's painful for me with the silence, I suppose. But I think all of you have got some amount of feedback, no doubt. Actually, it's nice to have Johnny on Johnny, do you happen to have some thoughts on this second one? And you might not be in a position for audio.
Oh, hello.
Hello?
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay, concerning this, I feel the design actually looks very cool, but then the main focus should be on the metrics. Yeah, so plus one to what you said, the numbers should be made bigger, more legible. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my opinion.
Yeah. And hey, yeah. I totally, for my part, and everyone else is encouraged to express an opinion, please. I totally agree with what John just said, which is, hey, it's just aesthetically, this is a cool looking thing. But if you step back and look at the goal of the information that we're trying to communicate, or the behavior that we're trying to coerce the viewer to do, which on the other designs, it's more like we're trying to get people to click try now, which I don't know that that's quite what those other ones should say, try now, or try it now, I think is what it said. But on this one, what we're trying to do is communicate. It's like an infographic. So actually, if you use that word in your inspiration and look at what different types of infographics look like, I think you'll understand a little bit more of what John was just saying, which is, hey, it's the numbers that are big and bold, big and bad and bold. And it's, and yeah, that might mean that you don't end up with rings. Maybe you do. But yeah, it's the large numbers that are impressive about what all of you have accomplished over time. It's been about 3 years for Meshery, and there's over 1,000 people who've contributed to it. Wow. But that doesn't ring out here. That doesn't, or like, hey, the stars, have they been climbing, or are they just, there's 2,000 something of them, but has that been static in nature, has been climbing up? I realize, Savio, that each of the statistics that you're looking at, you just have a point in time figure, like today, this is the number. But if you look at the bottom of the Meshery README, like in the Meshery GitHub repo, there's a line graph of what the stars count looks like. And it's, well, pleasantly, it's like spiking. It's not vertical or anything, but it's ticking upward quite a bit. And that's kind of a nice thing. So anyway, if you think about it, if you were to take each of the icons that you have, make them fairly large, about as large as you might make the numbers, and then underneath put a label for like 37, big and fat, a little folder icon, and then repos underneath. And basically you make that, you fill up almost the entire, that entire midsection from full bleed with big fat numbers.
Yeah.
Because it is.
Yeah. Someone. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's sort of like a drop the mic kind of a thing. It's like, hey, this community is awesome. This project is awesome. Boom, and you sort of slap someone in the face with these big numbers, kind of a thing. It's nice. It's a nice idea that you've got going at the bottom there about like, hey, it's, Meshery has a few orbiting projects, which is kind of a nice, like if you think about that word orbit for a moment and what you've got designed here, it's like, oh yeah, okay. So actually this is true, is that maybe there's an alternative version of, well, there is an alternative version of this in which Meshery is like the big rock in the middle, the big kind of project in the middle. And then there's these smaller satellite projects, which is kind of nice to show off an exploratory version of like, hey, come join the community and work on the Meshery project. And by the way, there's a lot going on, and that's kind of cool. And so maybe, there's this idea that works for a different message, but the message of like of big and bold numbers might not work in the orbital design. Food for thought.
Yeah, we'll make those changes. Also, just one more thing. While I was surfacing layer 5 readme, I guess I saw here one issue regarding yeah. So when I click for join layer 5 Slack, it shows the link for Meshery, like meshery.io. I guess that needs to be changed, right?
Yeah, somebody else can answer, I think.
Yeah, I think it's fine for now because it will take it to Slack only.
Okay, fine. Yeah, that's it from my side.
Okay. So next up we have Meshery Catalog update from Senali. Senali, would like to share your screen?
Am I audible?
Yep, you are. Are you sharing your screen?
Yeah. Mm. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
The issue was creating a catalog page for layer 5. I raised a PR here. This is the page I developed. Any feedback?
Boy, Salvo and Saksham, you guys just got a mouthful of feedback. And so I wonder if either the two of you have thoughts about this particular page. Again, just to introduce, what's happening here is that there's one of the projects within the overall Meshery project is, well, there's a catalog containing a bunch of content, things that you can load into Meshery, and Meshery will help orchestrate. And there are different types of things. There's cloud native patterns and WebAssembly filters and these. And there isn't a page on the Layer 5 IO site dedicated to describing the catalog and its value, what its purpose is, how to use it. And so what's being done here is to either create a new page to describe the catalog or potentially, to just create a section that describes it. And so, yeah, with that, what do you think? Saksham, any thoughts? By the way, if you guys all have video, feel free to turn it on. It's nice to connect with folks. So I guess, Saksham, the cat has your tongue, as they would say in the US. So Savo, any feedback?
I think the page looks fine. However, we can have some more descriptive stuff about the features, I guess. It's just the image and the title right now.
All right. Anybody want to facilitate the conversation here? Okay, great, good. Thanks for the feedback. Good. Maybe I'm assuming that was heard.
Yeah, okay, so actually we have a mockup for this catalog page in Figma that is in progress. I have shared the link for the file in chat. So, Senali, can you open the link?
catalog page is great.
Anyway, we missed your feedback. Were you saying something?
Yes, the catalog page is great. All the information is there. That's an informative page, and we have to make a backlink hyperlinks. That's all. It's great.
Okay, so any comment on this design?
Like, does the icons look a bit large regarding the W and the EBF? Because the compatible with looks great, I would say, but I guess so some of the icons look a bit large compared to the text and other components present on the website.
Yeah, I think that's because it describes the particular category, WASM filters, EVPF, and other.
And
Ritik,
the
you
page
might
is
want to answer.
also, yeah, and also the page is currently is in progress, so we need some data to be entered here. So that's why for the starting point, we have just added these icons.
Okay, so if no one has more feedback, we can move to next item.
Yeah. So Senali did. I mean, some of what was said there is, or maybe all of what was said there is quite helpful. Animesh, we just couldn't hear what you had said. You said something about a link, and then it wasn't quite.
I mentioned that on the all the icons we should set up hyperlinks for their respective documents. And can you scroll down a little to this section?
Yeah, right. Ritik, I don't think can hear, or Senali can't hear you necessarily, but Senali, if you scroll down a little bit.
Yes, this section of codes section. Why you designed it this way, the center one?
Yeah. So for your question is
That's look odd compared to the rest of the stuff, and the shadow makes the UI quite actually bad. I would say because that's focusing on the center part and making it look different from the rest of.
So basically, you are pointing out the background of this testimonial, right?
Yeah, we can't read. Yeah.
Oh, actually, okay. So actually, we are not using that color. It is just a screenshot. So that we are using on other pages on the layer 5 website. But we need to change that color to something like this, or maybe we can use the background black for this. That will match. It's just basically just a screenshot. That's why it looks different. But
I understand, but when you will make page, make sure that the font is completely visible. Considering the background as light blue or something, and the white text is not that great. It's not easily readable.
on the testimonial page.
Is it? Yes.
Uh,
When we'll make the page, make sure that the text is visible.
Okay, Animesh, you can drop your comments in the Figma, I guess.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean the quotes in that carousel, it's being used on different pages currently, and so those as a topic is probably something separate. But there are examples. I gave a link to one of the pages that those are on currently. You can go take a look outside of Figma and see if the quote carousel suffers from the feedback that you're giving, which makes sense, especially since it's a screenshot. It makes sense that there's kind of an issue. Yeah, so I think someone else had, maybe it was on a mesh, but someone had mentioned that maybe the images are a bit large. If you scroll up, Raj or Ritik. Okay, is that, yeah, they're massive. Yeah, they're quite massive. But that doesn't mean that you can't do that kind of a thing. It's just okay if you keep scrolling up, if you would. And so, all right, and keep going. And nice, good. So all right, good. Cool. So one thing that we could be done right here is in Senali's. Yeah, I guess I was directing Ritik to scroll up, but it's Senali that's sharing. I'm sorry. So Senali, you see the cards that are here on the right-hand side? If you hold those in your mind and you go back to the draft page that you have, the cards here are represented in the carousel down below. Good, and it's it's this 3D carousel. It's kind of neat. But so if just a food for thought, like, okay, if these are both representing the same things, these are cards that you would find inside of the catalog. This is just represents an individual piece of content, each one of these. Okay. And then if this represents the same thing as what you see in Figma for those cards that were kind of floating around each other, we might want to consider that either the design might need to be updated to match the style of these cards, or that these cards should be updated to match the style of the design, because that way it's reinforcing for the user, for the site visitor. They don't necessarily consider that those are two separate things, but one and the same. Since this content right here, this carousel, is used on a different page already, it might be nice to try to update the colors of the cards in that carousel, which will not only match the proposed, design for the page, but also if a site visitor sees this twice, it would look a little bit different, and maybe, it might help stretch our designs out a little bit further, stretch out their use, so that people don't feel like they're just looking at the same thing. Anyway, Senali, you're off to the right track, right? Like, and how could you not be? Because that section right there, save time with design patterns, and the section below, those are both just copies from the mesh map page. So yeah, they're great designs, or they're good stuff. So what you've done here that's new is you've created a new page, good, and then if you go to the top, you've got a section called Cloud Native Catalog, and it's got the catalog icon, and so it's good. Although, there's this there's this consideration about what's above the fold, meaning like when a site visitor lands on the page, what can they see without scrolling? And in this case, I don't know. There's not a lot given to them necessarily, but so food for thought about the potential incorporation of those content cards in place of the catalog drawer. The catalog drawer could be moved to the left while the cards are on the right-hand side, potentially. So, Anyway, good. Other places, yeah, I'm good. Senali, you've got a great start. Aesthetically, it's looking fantastic. But, all right, good. Well, what's next? What else do we have?
Thank you, Senali. So next up, we have updates on Google Analytics from Ayush. Ayush, you're good to share.
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. So before that, I would like to discuss this lighthouse issue, which was fixed, which has an open peer. So this was so me and my friend Akash were working on this, but since he is not present today, so I'm discussing his peer. So this was regarding the fixing the unused CSS rules test. So this rules is basically related to like a lot of extra CSS is being loaded on all the pages, which is not needed, mainly by some Gatsby global CSS. Those are loaded on all the sites, and those really basically slowed down the page. So this is a PR, which this uses the Gatsby plugins per CSS. This plugin to basically remove the basically pass the test. So I checked the Lighthouse logs, and the error is being passed on almost all the pages. Still, there are 2-3 pages left where the this particular test is failing, but on the other pages it's passing. Coming to my next peer, it's related to updating the Google tag reference for Meshery.io. So if I go back, so currently, like for inside Google Analytics, we have this Meshery.io properties. So we have two properties. One is related to the Universal Analytics, and one is the new Google Analytics 4. So currently, these both are connected. So all the data which you can see there is also present here. But inside the code, if you look, but inside the code for the Meshery.io, the old property is being referenced. So this basically this ID is
Ayush,
this
okay,
ID is
that makes sense. It's just a quick update. Like let's keep going. Move.
Yeah. So this next PR is related to like adding the Google Tag Manager tracking code to get Nighthawk. So
Okay,
basically,
great. Okay, keep going. Like, let's get on to something.
Okay. Like just one more thing. For this Google Tag Manager, like I've created this differently. Like instead of just adding Google tag.js, like previously what we used to do, we used to add Google tag.js global site tag dot code to all the pages. And whenever we need to add any custom events or anything extra, we need to like do the changes in code. But we are migrating to like Google Tag Manager. So using this provides like a UI interface where you can basically manage all the tags, everything from this, and we don't have to like every time change the code anytime we need to do anything extra. So I'll do this migration for all the websites, like all the layer 5 websites, but currently I've just done this for the Nighthawk. And we will need more containers. So like currently we only have one container. So like for each website we'll need one container. So for this layer 5.io, I will connect this to the Nighthawk website. So this will be renamed, but we'll need more containers like for all the other websites. And I don't have permission, so please just create that. And like for the another thing related to migration, like for the so this is the basically the old AFI property. It's not been, it doesn't collect any data presently because its tracking tag was removed and the new properties tag is being referenced in the code. So here, like what I've seen from what I've researched, like you cannot like just migrate the data from an old property to a new property. So like because the way the universal analytics connected data and the way the new G property collects data is different. So like if you see, we have the data from the starting, like when this property was installed, which was roughly like August of 2018, and the in the new Google Analytics 4, in the new Google Analytics 4 property, like for the layer 5 website we have, it it starts collecting the data somewhere from like 2019 October or something like that. So the data before that is not visible, like before the 2019 September October to this point, the starting, the data is not available for in the new property, but we cannot like simply migrate it to that's not possible. What is possible is like we can export this already, we can export this data into like CSV or PDF site. So like if you like just click on the export,
No. What
export
about Data
here,
Studio? What about Data Studio, Ayush?
like in Data Studio, like I didn't find any like existing anything to migrate.
No, not to migrate.
Yeah, like but honestly, I haven't looked much at the Data
Good,
Studio,
thank
but
you. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. That's exactly the answer. Good. Okay, go look at Data Studio. All right, what else, Ayush? When you say that you need containers for each site, you need to explain why.
because like each container, like so this container code, this is basically a copy to each page of the website or each page of the page. Each page of the website. So like for each separate website we need a separate container. So like once we add this code to each pages, we won't need to do like any code changes in the website itself. So like previously what used to happen when we're using a global
No,
site
I get that. I get that. Like I'm saying, hey, I'm asking in the chat if anyone here is familiar with Google Tag Manager. And I don't think so. It sounds like no one on the call knows Google Tag Manager. And since they don't, and since you don't, and since I don't, start with what is a container and how are they used? And rather than repeating, just saying we need them, one for each site, rather articulate what they are, how they're used, and why it is that the convention is to have one per site. If that's
so basically containers are objects inside this Google Tag Manager where you can add tags, add and manage tags. So this is a container which if you just click here inside this organization,
yeah,
we have this.
So why would we not want to track the same tag across two different sites?
I mean, like for each, it's better like if we have like this container, like each container should be like dedicated to a specific website itself, because once we like add, we would add like new tags here. So like when we add new tags here, and those tags, they will reference to the existing this code, where website will this code will be installed. And if we install like if we add this same code to like this same container code to multiple website, it will create some sort of confusion, because the same container code will be present everywhere. And it's basically also a convention that each separate website of the business should have a separate container, so that it's basically easy to manage all those tracking codes, all those tags.
Yeah. How do you track the same tag across different properties?
Could you please repeat the question?
How do you track the same tag across different properties?
Like for tracking the same tag, I will have to look into that. Like if it's, I will have to look into it.
Okay.
Anything else, Ayush, or should we move to next topic?
No, that's it. Thank you for listening.
Okay, so up next we have a update from Hiren. So Hiren would like to quickly give you an update.
I am audible?
Yes, you are. Yes, we can see your screen.
So this was the issue to creating the page about the missing page about UI UX community page. This was the issue. So I say that we can create similar to like this page of community managers, where some heading and some information about that, and some members who owning that page, and some other information that can put up.
I didn't get if you go back to the issue, let's quickly see what the issues ask was.
Issue was that the writing program was missing the link, but I saw that writing program was not missing the link, but UI UX page was missing the link. And page is not also not created.
The issue seems close. So is a PR merged to that issue?
No, I haven't raised PR.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So Hiren, so each of the badges here ideally are clickable and take people to a description of what the badge is about. And so it sounds like when I opened this, I referred to the writing badge, which might already have a link, but the UX UI badge doesn't. Great. So we can repurpose this issue to address that. And so then what is it that you're discussing right now?
So UI UX page has no any specific link to of that page. So we need to create a separate page for describing that page.
Yeah, or a separate section on an existing page. Yep. Very good. And so what are you calling for? What are you asking? Is there a question, or do you have progress on it, or?
So I was saying that we can create a page like this, similar like this.
Or just a section would work. See how the writing programs section we have. So I think I have given you the same feedback in Slack also.
Yeah. So I will create another different section, additional section in this page only, right?
Okay. Yeah, sure. So let's move to next item, I guess. That's on GitHub trailing slashes from Randy and Nikhil, but both of them are not on the call. But Randy has done some fine work over here. It will be solving our SEO issues with trailing slashes. I'll quickly reshare the link of that doc. And I'll ask Randy to add this into the committee's GitHub drive. So anyone has any quick questions on this before we switch topics? Or did anyone review this doc before?
Yeah, no, I didn't read through this. This is a long-standing concern. If when any of you visit a page on Layer 5.io, you might notice there's a bit of redirection that will occur very briefly. And if you've got your eyes trained on it pretty sharply, you might see that you'll notice a momentary addition of a trailing backslash, and then maybe a removal of it. There's a little bit of redirection that's occurring, and that that is potentially impacting performance of the site, impacting SEO for the site. And so yeah, we were trying to figure out for a little while how to work with Gatsby to eliminate that. So Randy Lau is the most recent one to propose a solution, and it looks like his solution is proposed inside of the Google Doc that's linked there. It's probably, knowing that it's not the easiest thing to solve, for anyone who digs into that doc, I suspect you might learn something, just because it's not easy. Nice, but yeah, so it looks like he has it looks like he did a thorough analysis. This is wonderful. All right, good. Well, so certainly everybody's encouraged to offer feedback there. I'm sure that we'll talk about it again on next Monday. For Randy, he's in the Pacific time zone, so it is 6 a.m. for him right now, which means at the start of the call, it's 5 a.m., which he has been on this call before. It's just, I think it takes a lot to get him up at that time. So we might need to give some asynchronous feedback here. Yeah, but
Okay.
that's, he really did his diligence. This is, I think I'll learn something as I go to read this, I suppose. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, good. We'll do we have other items for today? I wonder.
Yep, we have one from Madhurjya on removed whitespace in card. Do we have Madhurjya on the call? Yep, we do. So Madhurjya, do you want to share your screen?
Am I audible?
Yep, you are.
Yes, sure.
While this is coming up, I've got a question for Thibaut because it'd be nice to complete his works. It is going to be visible here in just a moment. I just have a different question very briefly. Thibaut, do you have a prototype up, like a deployment preview up of the Redocly output for the REST API in Meshery? Is that inside of a PR already?
Currently, no, it's not inside of API, but I just did it locally. I didn't push it. I actually said that the last time I will work to try to make it fit, but I was not able to do it. I don't know if it's because my design skills are bad or
Yeah, sure. So I apologize for this. This is in terms of the priority of the work that we're trying to do. I want to talk about this for just a moment. And since Noreen is on as well and Senali are on, both of these ladies have a bit of familiarity with this particular page in Meshery, the REST API docs. And on the page for any of the documentation pages, there's a left-hand side menu. Good. It's an overall, navigation of all the docs. And then we have an internal page navigator, which is nice. And they're responsive, so they will dismiss themselves when things get too tight. Of the proposed changes for how this information is presented, Thibaut has used a different API documentation generator to create, an improved set of information. And the way that information gets laid out, it's quite wide. It has its own internal menu, and then it has information, and then it also has example code and how to use it. And so it gets quite wide. And so Thibaut, one of the things that Noreen or Senali might be able to point out is how to, on any given page, I believe that we have a control to control whether or not to display this internal table of contents. If you aren't already familiar with that would be a space saver, one technique to hide this one. And
not
then,
really, but actually, can I share something very quick?
Yeah, so I apologize to Madhurjya. Madhurjya. I apologize. I didn't mean to take the time away. I just didn't want to let.
No, sure. Take your time.
Okay, so this one, I actually tried to deploy it directly by not using the CLI, but just by using their main stuff. So as you can see here, the layout here is different. So what I was trying to do by modifying the theme was trying to kind of achieve a theme, kind of a layout kind of similar to that, like that. And having a pagination to just go to the next item. Because currently, if you look at how it's being displayed when you just add it to the doc, it's like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We get pretty squished horizontally. So yeah, even if that internal table of contents was removed, it'll still be kind of tight. And so, yeah, that vertical layout, that's great. That's a great thing to explore. There's some promise there. One other thing that might be an issue for us, I'm curious if you try to do a search on the page, or I'm sorry, not on the page, but a search inside of the menu on the left.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's
Yeah, not that one. Yeah, but the other one.
Okay.
Yeah, when you do that, does it function as you would expect? I mean, is it?
Okay. Yeah, normally it should function as it should just function. Because yeah, it functions.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, so it's just filter. It's not reloading the page. It's just filtering existing data. So good. Okay. Well, one other thing. So Vivek, Vishal, I've called out 3 people now, Noreen and Senali and Vivek, who all might be able to have opinions or be able to assist in this particular area. One thing that Vivek had been successful in doing with the current API docs, they're generated using a different tool, Swagger, and the output of that tool is a collection of there's a YAML document, that YAML document that contains the REST API documentation. Well, it's easy for Jekyll, which is the framework that's used to build this site, to use that YAML doc as a data file, which is to say that Jekyll can load up that YAML file, all the content of the page, and then you can make queries over it. You can structure, you can organize the data and its presentation fairly easily. So if you go to the current page of the REST API docs, things are sorted alphabetically. More than being sorted alphabetically, the resources themselves are, I think, grouped by endpoint. And so anyway, the point is, as we look at switching out here, I wonder how much so if you take a look at there's an HTML file that's generated, right, as part of the output of Redocly, and it's just a single HTML document. That's it, right?
Yes.
So I wonder, which would make it hard for Jekyll to get its hooks into the content, the data, the content of the page, and manipulate it and re-represent it if it needs to restructure things. Because, like, as an example, see where it says filter API and filters API, or like the get mesh model components and the get, like some of these we might want to bring together as a single API, just so that developers who are contributing can come here and say, I'd like to interact with the mesh model API, and they don't need to navigate 15 different get mesh model, something. Rather, they would just navigate to one place that says mesh model. And then after they click there, they can see all the rest. If we wanted to restructure some of the content of the page a little bit differently, it would be helpful if Jekyll is able to treat this information as a data file. And it can do that for JSON data, YAML or JSON formatted data. And in this case, this is HTML formatted. So it's food for thought, like, because another way of being able to integrate the output here from the new tool into the Meshery docs page is to not directly consume the HTML file, but instead consume the generated data, generated YAML, generated.
Yeah, it's makes sense.
Anyway, I wasn't trying to make it a lot more work like that, but I'm just curious if there was. I'm curious for you to maybe put this in front of Vishal, and see if there's an easy way to.
Actually, I think that if there is a way to do that, it will be much easier to integrate it to the reference page, to the doc. Yeah, I got you. Actually, got you.
Nice. Okay. Noreen, Senali, Vivek, does that anybody want to engage here? All right, Vivek will. All right, that's good. So sorry, so good. Thanks for that. Maybe we should go back to Madhurjya real fast.
Okay. Yeah. But,
Madhurjya, you can share your screen and give a quick update.
Sure. Is it visible?
Yep.
So actually, I have given the presentation more times before. So Lee, you posted a video about the glitch here. Do you remember?
Yeah.
So I think the glitch is happening because of this drop-down icons, and one solution is to find like I on hovering over this HR component. So I applied a CSS rule of like rotation of 180 degree of this drop-down icon. I guess because of that it is happening. I need to look further. I haven't like get deeper into this. This is one solution to remove this glitch, and another one which I find is yes, this one. So this is one of my previous commit. So the reason why Nikhil told me to add this drop-down icons is because there is some spaces like uh, this ones. So instead of adding the drop-down icons, I can what if I remove these lines, these spaces, tiny little spaces? Will it work?
Oh, to reduce the line height.
No, not the line height, but this spaces, this li.
Yeah, the vertical gap between the.
So if I remove that padding.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. So having the same effect of removing the vertical, the distance
Yes,
between
yes,
squishing things, it'll help. I don't know that it'll be. I don't know that we wouldn't get dinged for it being hard to navigate. You know, like the closer the hyperlinks are to one
like
another,
it's smoother than the recent one.
Yeah,
So what's your final call? Like, should I remove those spaces instead of the drop down, or I need to like work on the drop down icons?
work on the drop down. It's not necessarily the
Sure.
icons. It's the CSS that you have.
Yeah. Not the icons, but some CSS rules. I need to figure that out.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, because even if you think about it too, like, well, what happens if we added another line item or another line item? At some point, there's no amount of squishing the space that you can do to eliminate the problem. Instead, having those faucets, those show, hide, expand, collapse faucets are, the solution.
And one more thing, should I remove this Nighthawk Nighthawk drop down icon? Because there is no sub items inside that Nighthawk.
Yes, please. Yeah, if there's no sub menu items, then we would only be lying to the user if we show them a carrot. If we show them a.
So for that, I need to add something like maybe new some item, some ABC kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Or.
So is it okay if I add something in the.
Use CSS.
Okay, sure.
You can or yes, that's true. You can use JavaScript or you can use CSS. You can use CSS
because the drop down facility is available because of this shape line
thing
Yeah, I
inside
know.
the sub items. So
Yep.
for if I need to add if I need to remove that, I need to add something extra to that.
No, you don't. Yeah, you can do it in JavaScript, or you can do it just in CSS. How would you do it just in CSS?
Just in CSS.
It's
Like
kind of,
it's these three Nighthawk, Meshery, and Service Mesh both have the same CSS class. So I need to add one more class. No, it's not possible to add one more class because it is using a map. So we are traversing through this sub items. So I
Correct.
think it's not possible for.
Oh
I need
no.
to use JavaScript only.
Oh no. Yeah, no, it's
Sorry.
yeah. Yeah, it's possible with CSS, even though they're all using the same class. You'd so very briefly, what could be done is that you would, you know how you apply that arrow today, or you like, I think a lot of times people think that you can't do conditional logic inside of CSS, and it's not, you know, CSS wasn't necessarily built for that per se, but what you can do is you can use gosh, I don't even know what they're called, but like child and parent selectors to figure out in CSS. What you do is like style the parent. You would apply this style to the sub menu item. The style that you apply is to the sub menu item, but that style selects the parent. And so only in the case that there is a parent do you then, you know, display the triangle. It's one approach.
But actually, these are not the child because everything is on the same level. But the step line.
Okay, then use a different, use a different attribute, right? Yes, use a different attribute then.
It's not like parent and child inside those HTML.
Yep, then use a different attribute. Look, you don't have.
I guess that's the only option.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be done in CSS, but it can be. Things are more elegant usually when they are. Usually works out better. There's less bugs and stuff.
I'll try to do that in CSS, but if it's not possible, then I'll have to do it in JavaScript.
Yeah, it is possible. But yes, if you're unable to do it, then yes, you can do it in JavaScript.
If I am unable to do this, so sure.
Cool. Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Madhurjya. So we are over time today. So thank you all for hanging out. So we'll meet next week, same time, same place. Make sure to subscribe committee's calendar to join all the other committee meetings. Thank you all for joining.
Could you wait 1 minute?
Yeah, sure, Veera. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, this is Veera.
Hey, Veera.
Yeah, I didn't get any proper documentation of what in scope we need to test for a Meshery project.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of stuff that isn't tested yet. There's a spreadsheet with I think many hundreds of lines of features that are itemized to be tested, and I think it's missing many hundreds of others that it needs. There's I'll drop you a link to that spreadsheet. There's a test strategy doc that needs to be improved upon. Yeah, there's a few. Do you have access to the community drive?
I think no, I didn't get any access for community drive. His thing is that I didn't get any scope values. Means what the things I need to test and what the things I did not test, because it is the whole scenario for production. We need to disturb the whole environment. If I start testing like our whole project is depending upon APIs and REST APIs. That's the thing, but we didn't have a proper in scope values. Means what are the things I need to test and what are the things we didn't test.
We don't have that proper documentation of.
Yep. Very briefly, if when you go to drive.google.com, you should see that there's a shared drive called Layer 5 Community.
Okay.
And if you don't see that, then be sure to fill in your community member form, and you'll get access promptly. When you do go into there, the Meshery project, there is a lot of times things that we're doing with test have to do with build and release. So in the build and release folder, there's a test plan, this one. There's a test strategy doc that's in the same folder, but there's also this test plan spreadsheet that's in here. And it goes on for a while about specific tests to do using like specific components. What component of Meshery are we testing? And, deployed on what platform, and kind of using what feature are we testing, and it kind of goes through. And so this is something very specific.
Yeah. Is there any other members in security testing in our community? It would be very helpful to comment on testing, because in every person we have different vulnerabilities on different things will be there.
Yep, there's it's in the Meshery CI Slack. That's the best channel to discuss testing things. As a matter of fact, there's a couple of open PRs right now, some additional unit tests that are being added to MeshKit, and then some additional unit tests that are being added to Meshery Operator. There's one of the maintainers, Asuko, he just created a new channel inside of Slack. It's called Meshery-Operator, which most of us aren't inside of that channel yet. But if you look for it, you can join it, and you'll see a bit of things, information about tests in there. It really is the Meshery CI call that has a standing agenda item to discuss these tests. So it's a good place to go.
Purely sure.
Nice. Yeah, good question.
Okay then. So bye all. We'll see you next week.
Bye, Gaurav. Thanks, Gaurav.
Bye. Welcome.